and interesting. Let's look at the next student example. Al Gore, 2010, said that the amount of man-made CO2 being spilled every 3 seconds into the thin shell of atmosphere surrounding our planet equals, in tons, the highest current estimate of the amount of oil spilling from the Macondo well every day. It's plagiarism, because even though we've said who said it, Al Gore, and we gave the year because this is an APA, all of those words that I've put in yellow here come directly from the source. All of those highlighted words come directly from the source. They're not paraphrased. So what do we need to do to fix that? We can either reword it, put it in our own words, or put quotation marks around it. It says that, quote, the amount, on and on and on, Macondo well every day, end quote. Okay? Those quotation marks are going to save us from plagiarizing. Just saying where it came from, Al Gore says that, it's telling our audience this information came from Al Gore. But we also want to say, not only did this information come from Al Gore, these are his words. Okay, let's look at the third student example for this one. The amount of coal-fired pollution being spilled every 3 seconds into the atmosphere surrounding our planet equals, in tons, the highest current estimate of the amount of oil spilling from the Macondo well every day. Parenthetical note, Gore, 2010. Again, I've highlighted here all of the words that come directly from the source. This student just took the, they just changed the words coal-fired pollution. And everything else is directly the same. So again, you can't just pull one word from the sentence and change it to something else, or change the way one little phrase of the whole sentence is phrased and call it a paraphrase. Because if you can see from the highlighted text, the majority of this sentence is still exactly the same as the original. So even saying this comes from Gore, we're really saying this information comes from Gore when we cite it like that. We need to find a way to show that not only does this information come from Gore, this is word for word from the source. So I would go ahead and change it back to the original, the amount of oil, the amount of coal-fired power plant. A lot of people do think you can just take a word here and a word there, change a little bit, and the trouble is, instead of reading a source, thinking about it, and then writing the information down and citing it, a lot of students make the mistake of cutting and pasting information from the source into their paper, and then after they cut and paste, they try to change a couple words in each sentence. Well, that's not really a paraphrase. You're going to be plagiarizing, and maybe it's accidental plagiarism, but when you learn and you know better, you can't do that. And a lot of teachers, you know, it's not their job to teach it, so they'll fail you whether you knew that was okay or not, that wasn't okay or not. Okay, let's look at another student example. Same source. This person wrote, in his article, The Crisis Comes Ashore, Al Gore, 2010, used the recent oil spill in the Gulf to draw the nation's attention to what he sees as an equally harmful spill, the daily pollution caused by over 1,400, paragraph 1, power plants in this country burning coal. Okay, what do you think about this one? Yeah, this one is correct. It's done very well. And I want to point out a couple things that this student did particularly well. One, we introduced the source. In his article, The Crisis Comes Ashore, Al Gore uses. So we know where this information came from. Further, the student paraphrased everything really well. Now you'll notice that the word spill is in quotation marks. And the reason that is, normally if it's just one word, it's okay. But if it's a special use of that word, it's really important to put it in quotation marks to show someone else used this word in this special way. And the reason that's a special use of that word is we usually don't think about air pollution spilling, but he's making an analogy between air pollution and the oil spill in the Gulf. So because that analogy is unique, and normally we wouldn't use the word spill in that way, this student put the quotation marks around the word spill to show this isn't my special use of this word. This is Al Gore's special use of this word. Additionally, over 1,400 is also put in quotation marks because it's a very specific statistic, and we don't know where they got that from. So that's our way of saying, hey, that's what he said. These are his numbers. I just want you to make extra careful, be very, very clear that these came from Al Gore. And it's all one sentence, so we just need the one citation. Okay, so down here I mentioned the student not only gave us the name of the author, which is all you have to do to avoid plagiarism, but the name of the article to establish the context. Your readers want to know where you got your information. And, you know, if you got it from Al Gore, did you get it from Al Gore 10 years ago, or did you get it from something Al Gore recently wrote? That establishes the context. Then the rest of this is put in the student's own words, which is good. And I already told you spill is in quotation marks because of the special use of the word. Let's look at page 3 in the next example. Now, this is a very large block of text that I've taken from this article. The article is by Pelkey and Timothy Allen. And it's called Does Father Still Know Best? An Inductive Thematic Analysis of Popular TV Sitcoms. And it was published in spring 2009 in Fathering, a Journal of Theory, Research, and Practice about Men as Fathers. So I have a really long quote here, but I'm going to just read the end of it, and then we'll look at these individual ones. It sets up the context for this research, right? And then it says, Coltrane and Adams, 1997, examined the prevalence of gender stereotypes in television programs airing from 1992 to 1994 during Nielsen Top 20 programs. While the authors found little movement in comparison to earlier studies, including the continued objectification of women and stereotypical male behaviors, the portrayal of passive and emotional behaviors was nearly as common among men as women. So now that we've seen that in that original, look at the worksheet number 1, 2, and 3, where students attempted to use that information and see which ones are plagiaristic and which ones are okay.